Hi, and welcome back to the Positive Prepper. I want to talk today kind of just about what's going on out there in the world. I tell you, crazy, crazy times we're living in right now. Uh, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, we are already at war in this country. And it isn't between, blacks and whites or liberals and conservatives. It's between those who believe in patriotism, the rule of law, and the Constitution, and those who don't. Our current government is doing everything that they can to divide us and to take away all of our freedoms. We all know that our freedom of speech is gone. They're coming after our boomsticks and freedom seeds. They're coming after your values, your ability to achieve the American dream, and then even our flag. I mean, our flag, our American flag, our beloved red, white, and blue, a symbol of freedom and patriotism for this country, is also under attack. This notion that our flag represents white supremacy, I can't wrap my head around it. I can't. Hundreds of thousands of Americans died for that flag, and they were from all races and creeds and cultures in an effort to allow us to live in the best country that's ever been. And to take that symbol, that American flag, that I personally hold so dear, and I know millions of you out there do as well, and to turn it into a nation dividing, divisive political weapon is just really wrong, in my opinion. Just look at how they're detaining people that were in or went to the Capitol on June 6th. They're not charged with a crime, but they're keeping these people in solitary confinement, right? They got maybe trespassing on them, maybe some other little misdemeanor charge, whatever. But yet they're letting all the violent rioters go with no charges. So that should really help you stay focused on really where this is headed, unfortunately. Crimes, as we know, have risen dramatically across the country. Thank God I live in the country and not in a city. But how many hundreds of innocent lives are being taken and destroyed? These small businesses being destroyed. And it's because there's a massive movement, to defund the police. Criminals are basically being allowed to call all the shots. And, look at what they did with the rioting and the looting. And everybody just stood back and said, oh, they're expressing themselves. I'm sorry. No, they're not. They're entitled little brats that need public spankings. That's just my opinion. But while this is going on, law-abiding citizens are being punished because we are protecting what's ours, and we're speaking out against this absolute insanity. Another direction is that the government spends millions, if not billions, I don't know the exact number, I didn't look it up, but I'm sure you can, on, those sound barriers that they put along freeways to keep the community safe from the sound of the traffic, right? But yeah, they're unwilling to spend millions or billions on the southern border to keep out the drugs and the human trafficking and these poor innocent little kids that are being thrown over the wall and left alone in a desert after they cross the river. They don't want to do anything about that, but heaven forbid should we get noise from semi trucks on the freeway. I don't know about you, but I have a really hard time wrapping my head around the thought process coming from the current people. I just don't get it. We also have the food and resources, which are going to become, as you well know, increasingly difficult to obtain. And then we also have the evictions. I think that ends in July. And so we're going to have thousands of people that are going to be homeless. And it is going to overwhelm cities that already have a massive homeless population. Yet we're going to put these illegal immigrants into posh hotels, but we're going to leave our veterans out on the street, and we're not going to help the homeless, but we're going to help the people from other countries. It makes no sense to me. And then, of course, we have our current person in the White House. I refuse to use the P word with him, who gave Russia a list of agencies not to be attacked by cyber warfare, right? So that leaves other agencies wide open. And which of these agencies are left wide open? How much of the banking industry is left open? How much of your credit card information is left wide open? How much of our power grid is left wide open? Or your cell phone technology, how much of that is left wide open, right? Cyber warfare is a real thing, and I know that it's a hot topic in the news right now. I believe, and again, this is just my opinion, that we are just seeing the tests of what these cyber criminals are. They're seeing how much they can get away with, and they will become increasingly emboldened to do that. If you're not familiar with Cyber Polygon, look it up and understand what that really is and what's going to be happening on July 9th. Okay. I will do a video on that in the next couple of days because people really need to be aware that when you go in and read on the cyberpolygon.com or whatever it is, they make it sound so beautiful and wonderful and it's for everybody's safety, right? But we know that that's not really what's going on. They always say, look over here, so you don't know what we're doing over here. So, this notion that white supremacy is the biggest threat to America is horsepucky. Sorry, but it is. They're calling it domestic terrorism. And now they're looking for ways for people to turn in family, friends, neighbors that are either radicalized or radicalizing in an effort to fight domestic terrorism. But what does that mean? Well, as I said, look at what they're doing to the people that went into the Capitol building on January 6th. If you have a dissenting view and you are speaking out against what's going on, your neighbor can call the government and say that you are radicalized or you are trying to radicalize other people. Now, of course, we don't put BLM and Antifa in that category, right? they're not considered dangerous, even though, who's been doing the burning of the cities and the looting and the rioting. This is an expression. This is criminal. And they need to be held accountable for it. But us law-abiding citizens that happen to have a different view are being targeted, and it's going to get worse. How can anybody, and again, folks, this is just my opinion, but how can anybody look at what's going on right now and think that any of this is okay, or that any of this is sane, or that any of this makes any sense? It started actually before 2016. The divisiveness between races started with, in my opinion, well before Trump came into office. And he came in as a man, the people's president, and he wanted to drain the swamp. He wanted to expose these people for who they are. And they are continually pushing their agenda because what they want is that civil war. And that's really unfortunate. And they don't want unity. They want conformity. And so the war, in my opinion, is going against people who don't conform to their ideologies or who push back against this craziness of the extreme left. And, we are going to continue to be targeted if we stand our ground and we hold the line. And I hope that's what we're able to do. So what does this mean for you then as a prepper? Well, first of all, you need to pick a side, because not picking a side is picking a side, right? So you're either for the rule of law or you're for without the rule of law. And there is a very big difference. And you can see that difference every day on your local news, right? Pick a side and then hold that line no matter what. You need to not be afraid to go out and speak. Look at all these parents when they tried to bring that critical race theory into the schools. And you've got parents rising up all over the country that are saying, no, you're not going to teach my child to be racist. You're not going to teach my white child that he or she is an oppressor. And you're not going to teach black children that they are oppressed. It's not about equity. It's not about giving everybody that level playing field, taking from these people and giving it to them. Opportunity, yes. Equal opportunity, absolutely. There needs to be a bigger priority in our inner city schools. Absolutely, I agree with that. But there are people that come from those same neighborhoods that rose above their situations and came. Look at Dr. Ben Carson. You all know him, I'm sure, from before. Maya Angelou, Oprah Winfrey. It's not that, and they didn't have to take from someone else. What they had to do was apply themselves and lift them up out of their situation. And I'll tell you something, there's a lot of white people and Hispanics and Native Americans and Asians and Muslim and, you name it. There are hundreds of thousands of other people in that same situation that were able to come up out of it because they didn't have that sense of entitlement. They just knew it's what they had to do. So don't be afraid to have that voice and go out there and stand up against all of this stuff. Okay? We have to hold on to our country. And we have to hold that line against this violence and this elitist and entitled mentality and the communist ideology that they want everybody to conform to. The next thing is you need to defend your preps. You need to be prepared to defend your preps. Non-preppers and those that follow that far left ideology, they have that feeling, that sense of entitlement. And so they are going to feel entitled to get your preps by any means necessary. Look at what they've done in the streets. They felt entitled to burn businesses and rob stores and hurt people and kill people to get what they wanted. So you need to be able to defend your preps. Watch for the imminent signs of a societal collapse. If we stay on this path, and I pray to God we don't, but if we stay on this, it's coming. The criminals, the crime, they'll try to take our guns so that we can't defend ourselves against those very people. Okay? So keep your eyes open and constantly be aware of what's going on around you. Okay? And then lastly, I would just say pray. If you're not a believer in prayer, if you're not a believer in God, which I am very much so, pray like you've never prayed before for your friends, your loved ones, your family, but also for the very soul of this country. It's not too late to turn away God's wrath, but we have to pray like we've never prayed before as a nation of patriots, as lovers of our country, respecting our flag and our military heroes and our veterans. You have to pray like you've never prayed before. And I just know that I will be on my knees praying right alongside you several times a day, praying that this country takes a better path. So I know this was kind of a heavy video, but I think sometimes I just need to express what's going on in my head and keep people aware and keep this fight relevant until we feel like we are safe again, safe in our beliefs, safe in our values, safe in our patriotism, safe in our conservatism. Now, I know all y'all out there don't have the same values and beliefs that I do. But if you and I'm speaking to you that might not have the same values that I do, if we continue to let this government, this particular government, divide us, we will all fall. And I don't want that. So I hope you all had a great day today. God bless.